Hey my craft friends, welcome to Sweet Bay Lane. Just in case you're new here, my name's Tracy. I am so glad you stopped in to craft with me because in this video we're going to be DIYing our own Christmas ornaments. Now I know what you're thinking, Tracy, we can just buy Christmas ornaments. They're so affordable nowadays. But if you're trying to fill a complete tree with ornaments, that can get quite costly even if they're $3 or $4 a piece. Now, I'm just as guilty. I love buying new ornaments for Christmas, but like I said, if you're trying to fill a complete tree, that's where DIYing your own ornaments comes in very handy. Another thing I love about DIYing my own ornaments is that you can personalize them and give them as gifts. So again, thank you for joining me and let's get to crafting. For DIY number 1, we're going to be using some smaller beads. I purchased these from Hobby Lobby in their little Christmas section. It's their miniature like ornaments and trees and things. And then you'll need some ribbon. You'll also need some letter beads. Now I purchased these from Michael's or Walmart. Actually, I think I purchased them from Walmart. And you'll also need some wire. I'm going to be using some of this paper covered wire. We start with our letter beads and we spell out the words we prefer. Now I'm going to be using Joy, Mary, and I'm also going to be using my niece's name, Kaylee. Now that we have our words worked out, we're going to bring back in our wooden beads and we're going to string them on our wire. Now, depending on the size of ornament you're making, that will determine what size beads you use. I'm going to keep mine small, so I'm using these smaller size beads. And once we have our beads strung on, we're then going to twist it at the top of the ornament and trim off the excess wire. I think these are looking so cute. I also love the personalization aspect, like the one I made for my niece, Kaylee. Then we're going to move on and we're going to add some of this twine as a hanger to the top of our ornaments. We'll then come in and finish up with some embellishments. I created these beautiful little simple bows that I'm going to glue to the top of each ornament. And as you'll see, they look adorable. I love how these turned out. And these would make a perfect gift as a set or individually. Now we're moving on to DIY number 2. And for this DIY, we're going to be using those fun wood cutout ornaments. You can find them anywhere out in the marketplace. And what we're going to be doing with these little wood cutout ornaments is we're going to be turning them into gingerbread ornaments. And I'm going to show you 2 ways to do that. The first way is going to be using some of this Rust-Oleum satin spray paint in warm caramel. Once we have them sprayed and they've dried, we're now going to come in with some of this 3D puffy paint and we're going to add our gingerbread detailing. Or if you don't have time to wait for the puffy paint to dry, or maybe you're crafting with kids, you can also use a white paint pen. And I loved this part of the DIY. It was so much fun adding the little gingerbread details. Once we have them painted and they've dried overnight, I definitely advise letting them dry overnight. We're going to move on to our next step, and that's going to be adding a generous coat of Mod Podge. Now I prefer adding a coat of Mod Podge with a makeup sponge because that keeps the Mod Podge on the surface and not drip down the sides of the ornament. And once we have our ornament covered in a generous amount of Mod Podge, we're going to bring in some of this iridescent glitter and glitter the surface of our ornament. Now for this set, I'm going to be trying a superfine glitter. Then we're going to let our glitter dry. And once our glitter's dried, we'll knock off the excess and we're left with these light gingerbread ornaments. Now I noticed the fine glitter really left a lighter finish to the gingerbread. So if you're looking for a lighter colored gingerbread, this would be your technique. I then just added some gold ribbon hangers. Now this is the second version of a gingerbread technique. I'm going to be using some of this acrylic paint with a makeup sponge and painting my gingerbread men both front and back. Then we're left with these two cute little darker gingerbread men. I think this is the perfect gingerbread color. Now we're going to come in and give it some gingerbread detail with the puffy paint. And as you can see, I had fun with my gingerbread men and gave them two different designs. I then came in with the Mod Podge, gave it a generous coat. I enjoyed this technique so much that I created a limited amount of kits. If you're interested, go ahead and check them out at sweetbaylane.com. They'd also make a great gift or a craft night with your friends. And once we have our generous amount of Mod Podge on, I came in with this coarser glitter. I wanted to give it a try to see if it looked more like sugar on a cookie, and it did. Now that they're dry, we're going to knock off the excess, and I think they look adorable and delicious, if I might say so myself. I then finished them up with some gold ribbon hangers. Look at how adorable those are. Now we're moving on to DIY number 3. For this DIY, we're going to be using 14 of the tumbling tower game pieces from the Dollar Tree. And we start by laying our game pieces out in the design. And as you can see, we're making a cross in the center of our tumbling tower game pieces. And once we have it laid out, we're then going to come in with some wood glue and glue all the pieces together. And once our piece has dried completely, we're now going to paint our piece. And you can paint or stain. I'm going to be trying a little bit different technique, and I'm going to use some of this Rust-Oleum flat white enamel paint. And once our project is painted and it's dried, we'll then come in with some sandpaper and give it a little bit of distressing, especially when you're layering paint, as we're going to do with this project. For the next layer, I'm going to be applying some of this Americana gel stain in oak. I'm going to be using a makeup sponge and then removing the excess with a paper towel. Once we have the stain wiped off, we're now going to bring in some antique gold rub and buff and add a coat to the front and the sides of our piece. And to apply my rub and buff, I just used some of my makeup sponge that I had painted the stain with. This added a beautiful touch to our ornament. Once that's done, it's time for the embellishments. And I don't know if you guys have seen my little doggie popping her head in there in the upper right-hand corner. She's being nosy and checking out the neighbors. Oop, there's the doggy head again. This beautiful ornament was so much fun to make, and it's already been gifted to my mother-in-law. What do you guys think? I love how this one turned out. Okay, my craft friends, that wraps it up for these 3 DIY craft projects. And if you're interested in the gingerbread ornament kit, you can find that at sweetbaylane.com. I'll have a link in the description box below. Also, if you haven't yet subscribed, please go ahead and do so because we'd love to have you here at Sweet Bay Lane. And until next time, make sure and keep it crafty.